Welcome to Echoes of Faith, where stories of hope, resilience, and grace inspire us to find the light in every challenge.
Welcome to another episode of Echoes of Faith, where stories of hope, resilience, and miracles come to life. Today, we bring you The Pony in the Barn, a heartwarming tale of a struggling father, a loving daughter, and an unexpected visitor who transforms their lives. Settle in and let this story remind you of the healing power of faith and love. The wind howled outside Dale Rose's modest farmhouse, rattling the old windows and piling snow high against the barn. Inside, the crackling fireplace was the only comfort against the storm. Dale sat at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of overdue bills that seemed to grow as quickly as the snow outside. The weight of providing for his 7-year-old daughter, Charlotte, pressed on him like the relentless storm battering the walls. "Daddy?" Charlotte's small voice broke the silence. She stood in the doorway clutching her worn teddy bear. "What is it, sweetheart?" Dale asked, trying to soften his weary tone. "I heard something outside, like a whimper." Her big blue eyes, so much like her late mother's, were wide with concern. Dale frowned. "It's probably just the wind. This storm is fierce tonight." Charlotte hesitated. "But Daddy, it sounded like it was coming from the barn. Can we check?" Dale sighed, glancing at the clock. It was nearly midnight, and the storm showed no signs of letting up. But Charlotte's pleading look was impossible to ignore. "All right, let's go, but bundle up." Charlotte scampered to grab her coat, hat, and boots. Dale grabbed a flashlight and a lantern, then led the way through the swirling snow to the barn. The icy wind stung his face as he pulled the barn door open against the weight of the drifts. Inside, the barn was dim and quiet, save for the faint sound of something breathing heavily. Dale swept the flashlight beam across the hay-strewn floor and froze. Lying in the corner was a small chestnut-colored pony, its sides heaving with labored breaths. One of its legs was bent at an odd angle, and its coat was caked with snow and ice. "Oh no," Charlotte whispered, rushing forward. "Daddy, it's hurt." Dale crouched beside the pony, carefully examining it. "Looks like it got caught in the storm and found shelter here," he murmured. "That leg doesn't look good." "Can we help it?" Charlotte asked, her voice trembling. Dale hesitated. Taking care of an injured animal would be expensive, and they were barely scraping by as it was. But as he looked at Charlotte's hopeful face, he couldn't bring himself to say no. "We'll do what we can," he said, "but it's going to take some work, and we'll need to call the vet in the morning." Charlotte nodded eagerly. "I'll help! I'll take care of it, Daddy." They spent the next hour settling the pony into a warm stall, wrapping it in blankets, and giving it water. Charlotte named the pony Snowflake because of its arrival during the storm. By the time they returned to the house, both of them were exhausted but determined. Over the next few days, Snowflake's presence brought a new energy to the Rose household. Charlotte spent every spare moment in the barn, feeding and talking to the pony, even reading it stories from her favorite picture books. Dale watched from a distance, his heart both heavy and light. Heavy with worry over the cost of Snowflake's care, but lightened by the joy and purpose it seemed to bring to his daughter. One afternoon, as Dale worked on patching a drafty window in the barn, Charlotte sat beside Snowflake, brushing its coat. "Daddy," she said suddenly, "do you think Snowflake came here for a reason?" Dale glanced at her. "What do you mean?" "Like maybe God sent her to us," Charlotte said, her small hands moving gently over the pony's mane. "To help us not feel so lonely." Dale paused. Since his wife's passing 2 years ago, he'd struggled to believe in much of anything, let alone miracles. But Charlotte's unwavering faith was hard to ignore. "Maybe," he said softly, not wanting to dampen her hope. That evening, as Dale sat by the fire, Charlotte came to him with a book in hand. "Can we read this together?" she asked. He smiled, setting aside his work. "Of course." The book was a collection of Bible stories, one of Charlotte's favorites. She opened to the story of the Good Shepherd. "The shepherd never gives up on his lost sheep," Charlotte said when they finished. "Just like we didn't give up on Snowflake." Dale nodded, a lump forming in his throat. Her simple faith and optimism were beginning to stir something in him, something he hadn't felt in a long time. By the end of the week, Snowflake's leg was healing and its strength was returning. The vet had been surprised by the pony's resilience and even more so by Charlotte's dedication. "You've got a remarkable little girl," the vet had said to Dale. "Her love and care have made all the difference." One crisp morning, Dale and Charlotte stood in the barn, watching Snowflake take its first tentative steps without the splint. "She's getting better," Charlotte exclaimed, clapping her hands. Dale smiled. "She sure is, and so are we, I think." Charlotte looked up at him, her eyes shining. "Do you think God is happy?" Dale crouched beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I think so, sweetheart. I think he's proud of how much love you've shown, Snowflake. And maybe," he added, his voice thick with emotion, "he sent her here to remind us that even in the hardest times, there's always room for hope." Charlotte threw her arms around him, and for the first time in years, Dale felt a glimmer of peace. Snowflake's arrival had been unexpected, but it had brought healing in more ways than one. The days turned into weeks, and Snowflake continued to mend under Charlotte's devoted care. The once limping pony now galloped through the fields with a newfound vitality, its coat gleaming in the sunlight. Dale watched from a distance, his heart swelling with pride at Charlotte's unwavering determination and love. One evening, as Dale and Charlotte sat at the kitchen table, a letter arrived in the mail. It was addressed to Charlotte, written in delicate script that neither of them recognized. Curiosity piqued, Charlotte tore open the envelope and unfolded the letter. "It's from Mrs. Murphy next door," Charlotte exclaimed, her eyes widening with surprise. "She says she used to own Snowflake before the storm hit. She thought Snowflake was gone forever." Dale took the letter from Charlotte's hands, scanning its contents. Inside was a photograph of Snowflake in a sunlit meadow. "Mrs. Murphy is asking if we'd be willing to give Snowflake a forever home," Charlotte said, her voice tinged with excitement. Dale looked at his daughter, then back at the letter. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders once more. Taking care of Snowflake had been a challenge, but also a blessing. The barn had felt emptier before the pony's arrival, and now Dale couldn't imagine it without her. "I think that sounds like a wonderful idea," Dale finally said, smiling at Charlotte. "What do you think?" Charlotte's eyes sparkled with joy. "I want Snowflake to stay with us forever, Daddy." Dale nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. Perhaps Snowflake had been sent to them for a reason, not just to heal the pony's broken leg, but to mend their wounded hearts as well. As he looked out the window at the snow-covered fields, Dale felt a warmth spreading through him, a feeling of hope and renewal that he thought he had lost long ago. And so, Snowflake became a permanent member of the Rose family. Mrs. Murphy visited often, bringing little treats for the pony. The barn became a haven of laughter and love, a sanctuary of healing and companionship. As the days lengthened and winter gave way to spring, Dale watched Charlotte and Snowflake race through the fields together, their bond unbreakable. And in those moments, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the love of his daughter, Dale knew that miracles were real and that sometimes they came in the form of a small, chestnut-colored pony named Snowflake.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, no matter what fires we face, faith will always carry us through. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. Subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. This is Echoes of Faith, where every story brings hope. If today's story moved you, be sure to discover more heartfelt journeys in the Echoes of Faith series and uplift your spirit. Don't miss out on the next chapter. There's always more to uncover.